Okay guys, I swear, the Rocky review is coming. I've just been really struggling trying to sort out the copyright claims. That as soon as it's sorted, I promise the review will be released. With that out of the way, let's talk about the Multiverse of Madness. So, here we are with the latest of Marvel's cinematic expeditions, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, released as a sequel to the 2016 Doctor Strange movie, and follows on from the events of Marvel's first streaming service miniseries, WandaVision, released back in 2021. Now, despite the fact that I haven't seen both Marvel products in quite some time, I didn't feel the need to do so before going to watch this film. But I figured anyway that I'd give my brief thoughts on both those Marvel products. So, the first Doctor Strange, the last time I watched it was with my family about a year ago in the summer. I thought the film was very enjoyable. It was definitely a beautiful visual marvel. It had some likeable characters, had a lot of great fight scenes, and some decent jokes across the board. The plot was a little bit too similar to Iron Man 1 without really changing that much. Not every joke landed. The main villain, Caecilius, I think he was called, that's how you pronounce it, I think. He was just very generic. This was around about the time of Marvel's generic villain period, so that's kind of understandable. And the direction style was a little bit stale. Still, it's definitely what I'd still consider to be one of the better Marvel films of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So for WandaVision, I actually haven't watched it since its release back at the start of 2021, where I watched it via its episode release day order with my sister. I thought that the show was brilliant. I loved how each episode was a passion-filled love letter to different television sitcoms of different decades, and I loved the dedication that was put into making each decade episode feel as accurate as possible, all the way down to the effects, the editing, the laugh tracks, just everything about the dedication to making it seem like older TV series was brilliant. It also had a very frightening atmosphere, with the mystery of wondering what was going on inside of Westview. Episode 1 and 2 didn't immediately sort of click me to what was going on, but as soon as I watched episode 3, I was hooked, and each episode from then on got better. But then when I got around about to the last 3 episodes, episodes 7 to 9, was kind of where I was starting to fall off the sort of intriguing of the mystery. I wasn't part of the big debate online about wondering which specific Marvel villain was going to appear. I just wanted to watch an entertaining show, and I got that right up until the ending, which very much disappointed me with where it led to. I'm willing to give them a bit of leeway on that, considering the ending to this series was one of the first projects that was heavily affected by when we first went into the COVID pandemic, so I'm willing to give them a bit of leeway on that. Still a very brilliant show across the board. As a fan of both of those Marvel projects, I was admittedly very excited to go and see this film, but I wasn't in any immediate rush to go and see it on its opening weekend, because around about that time I was extremely busy prioritising more important things. I was coming towards the end of my second year of university, so all that time was spent prioritising making sure all of my work to send off to my lecturers was well organised. I went back to see my family for my mum and her now husband's wedding. They're now married. I was also tasked with taking photos and videos of the wedding itself. I'm going to compile that into a wedding video for them. And I was also slowly but surely making my way through my soon-to-be, hopefully, soon-to-be released Rocky review. And I think because I didn't go and see the film on its opening weekend, I made the biggest mistake you can make when it comes to this franchise. because it's like if you don't go and see a Marvel film on day one, you have set yourself to the curse of the MCU fans, the side of the MCU fandom that can't shut the fuck up about what happened in the film and feel like every single little nook and cranny is some kind of like dramatic sort of reveal setting up for about 5 or like 10 later films. And so what do? They fucking spoil it. They share it everywhere on social media, which basically means that you have to go on some kind of social media hibernation until the media hype dies down and you can scroll through TikTok and Instagram and see posts from your favourite content creators or just posts from your friends and family without getting something like, oh, Mr. Bean dies. For fuck's sake! So the first thing I thought I'd do before anything else in this review is give my... First, before I talk about the spoilers, I'll give my non-spoiler thoughts on the film, just in case there's anybody watching who hasn't seen the film and they clicked on this video for whatever reason. I'll give my non-spoiler thoughts first before I give the spoiler thoughts. I thought that this film was better than the first Doctor Strange film. It was one hell of a spectacle to witness on the big screen, and the magic and multiverse element can lead to some visually spectacular moments with a decent story in this. How it compares to other Marvel films I can't exactly pinpoint, but I can say it's around about my top 15 area, maybe heading towards top 10. That's where I'm at right now at this film. Wouldn't put it in the top 5 for sure, with the different flaws that it has, which I will get into with the spoilers. Another thing, great direction style, as I will talk about in just a moment. It feels like a film that stands out from the MCU because of its direction style. Which, given how many of these things are made a year, and not to mention the God knows how many Marvel streaming shows that have also been released in between films, we've basically just become drowned in Marvel content. It's important for the content to stick out, and thankfully Multiverse of Madness does stand out with its direction style. So I'm going to give you guys the final spoiler warning now. If you haven't seen this film and you want to go into the cinema completely blind, this is the final warning now to click off this video and come back later, because I don't want to be the guy to rob you of those moments, similarly to how I had a spoiler shown to me when I was just casually scrolling through TikTok. I don't want that to happen to you guys because of this video. I'm also going to be spoiling parts of WandaVision and the first Doctor Strange in order to talk about specific plot points in this film. So the final spoiler warning now. I'll give you 3 seconds to click off the video. Okay, let's do this. So the film begins with a literal bang as Doctor Strange and an unknown girl are being chased by this unknown weird tentacle alien monster through this endless plane of reality along a broken pathway in order to reach this very important book. Think of the set like Rainbow Road from Mario Kart Wii if it blew up. But then Doctor Strange dies in an attempt to take this girl's powers in order to prevent the monster from getting those powers for itself. From the panic of being caught in the monster's grasp, the girl triggers her powers, which turn out to be opening weird star-shaped portals, to which she, the monster, and Doctor Strange's corpse are pulled into. We then cut to Doctor Strange waking up from what he assumes was just a nightmare, but we can assume he's probably going to meet this girl later on. First things first, he's attending the wedding of his work buddy Christine from the last film, and quietly spending his time regretting all of the time that he didn't have for her because he was so busy, what with his role as the guardian of the New York Sanctum and all that. However, it seems the reception is cut short as something invisible is seen attacking the city, to which Doctor Strange dons his costume and flies out to the scene to find out what's going on. It's then revealed to be a giant squid-like monster carrying the girl from Strange's dream, so he and eventually Wong try to fight it in order to get her to safety. I should say that this fight with the tentacle demon was the weakest part of the CGI in this film for me. Looking at it as a whole, the CGI in this film, for the most part, was very impressive, especially when it plays into the horror vibes of this film with some of the action scenes later on. But like all CGI in film, it had its very off moments, and this was definitely one of them. It's like the moments when the tentacle monster would like grab characters. I'd never truly believe that those characters were actually there. The same thing with I could never really believe that the tentacle monster was actually there, or certain pieces of like falling debris from when it smacked its tentacles into different buildings. It had cool moments. One of my favourites from that fight was definitely when Doctor Strange pulled out this sort of like magic sort of buzzsaw to slice through, I forget what it was, I think it was like a bus or a car or something, but when Doctor Strange used that magic buzzsaw, that was really cool. But the fight was also kind of forgettable, and I didn't really feel like any of the characters were really in any sort of danger. It had a cool death, having like a spear like impaled it to its eyeball, and then having its eyeball, a giant eyeball, yanked out, only to leave it to sort of like fall without its side towards the ground. That was pretty graphic, but other than that, not much else to say. So upon rescuing the girl, she first tries to run away from them, but they eventually calm her down. She introduces herself as America Chavez, I hope I'm saying that right, and she explains that several monsters have been chasing her down for her powers, and that she needs the Book of Vishanti, a book of incredibly vital defensive spells. Stating that Strange's dream wasn't actually a dream, but him looking into another universe version of himself, to which America shows him the version of himself that died to the demon at the start of the film, and they bury the corpse. Noticing the demon as some form of witchcraft, Doctor Strange goes and talks to someone who would know about it, Wanda Maximoff. However, Wanda's not exactly what you would call mentally stable right now. She's having visions of Tommy and Billy, her two sons from the WandaVision series, when she was having her little coping mechanism fiasco back in Westview, where that whole thing led to her becoming the Scarlet Witch. Essentially, she only really got over the death of Vision, but she never really got over her two sons disappearing, and she wants to use America's power of travelling through different multiverses to find one where she does have sons, by using this brand new power that she's discovered that basically it's a sort of like a sort of evil power that's sort of taken her over, the Darkhold. Do you remember the Book of Cagliostro from the last Doctor Strange film, right? The book containing the pages of contacting Dormammu and drawing power from the Dark Dimension. Yeah, I don't remember that book either. But basically, the Darkhold is the witch's version of that, and it's turned good old Hermione Stranger into an evil witch. I somehow went into this film completely unaware that Wanda was going to be the villain in this story, and I really love what they did with her in this film. It feels like a genuine continuation of her grief from her miniseries, and gives her a chance to display her incredibly threatening powers while also looking so innocent and just overall really in pain, displayed brilliantly by the thanks to the phenomenal acting by Elizabeth Olsen. She's honestly what I believe to be the best part of this film, which may seem like a negative considering it is a Doctor Strange film, but I think it's fine. She's the best part of this film. So, now with an evil witch after them, Strange, Wong and America go back to Kamar-Taj, trying to protect America from the wrath of the Scarlet Witch. It works about as well as tracing paper trying to stop a tornado, however, as Wanda arrives and absolutely wrecks the shit of all the sorcerers at Kamar-Taj, cornering all three of our main heroes in the Sanctum. In a state of panic, America triggers her portal travelling powers again, and she and Doctor Strange are sent into that portal, leaving behind an unconscious Wong. Strange and America both fall through a multitude of different multiverses in what's essentially this film's version of the scene in the first film where Doctor Strange's mind was open to the astral plane of magic. A visually marvellous acid trip. They even make a joke about how this isn't Doctor Strange's first trip. Admittedly, I was a little disappointed at the limit of the different multiverses that we spend lengthy time in. Like, I understand that you can't just have the characters jumping from multiverse to multiverse to multiverse without sort of emotionally connecting them in some way, because then the audience doesn't really have a reason to care. But it didn't. For the Multiverse of Madness, it wasn't really that mad. It was more like Doctor Strange in the multiverse of the slightly odd. Anyway, the universe that America and Strange end up in is one where their Doctor Strange is also dead, and the New York Sanctum is instead protected by their universe's version of Mordo, who behaves surprisingly friendly at first, but then as soon as they get into the Sanctum, they are both placed in glass prison cells under the watchful eye of their universe's Christine. All the while, back in the home universe, Wanda is using the Darkhold to walk in another universe. She basically possesses another universe's Wanda, who's living with her kids in a suburban household, trying to recreate those memories that she had when she was in Westview. The actors playing the two boys, Jet Klein and Julian Hillard, yeah, that's how you say it, they both do a great job as the two boys. Normally when you're bringing in kid actors to do kid roles, you have to make sure that they are believably innocent whilst also not trying to force a voice or force a performance that makes them feel kind of unnatural. And thankfully, they had their time on WandaVision to feel as comfortable with playing these characters as possible, and they're believable kids. But it seems that Wanda's dreams are cut short as a random sorcerer sacrifices themselves to destroy the Darkhold book, breaking Wanda out of her dream-walking state. Enraged, she threatens Wong to take her to somewhere where she can continue her dream-walking state, which happens to be, I've got it written down here, Mount Wundagore, I hope I'm saying that right. A forbidden temple in the icy mountains full of Darkhold magic. Meanwhile, in a different universe, Doctor Strange is brought out of his prison cell and taken into a meeting hall by Ultron droids, actually. That was a nice little addition there. And is brought before the Illuminati, which isn't a collection of triangle heads, I might add, but is instead what is basically that universe's superhero organisation, consisting of Mordo, Captain Carter, Black Bolt, Captain Marvel, Jimmy from The Office, and Professor X, or Charles Xavier, however you want to say it. I feel like I should take some time to talk about these guys, given their soon-to-be short presence in this film. I am disappointed that this film's version of Mordo wasn't our version from the last film, because the post-credits scene in that film revealed that he'd basically taken a dark turn in his path, believing that the world had too many sorcerers and he was going to try and put a stop to that, quite literally. I was intrigued, I was interested to see where they would go with this, but no, it's a Mordo from a different universe, and I hate that because it's the same problem that I have with Thanos in Avengers Endgame. After holding the spotlight in Infinity War, becoming, the MCU's best villain, and that fantastic ending, I was excited to see where they would go with this. I was excited to see what they would do with Thanos in the following film. I was ready to feel sad for his death. And what do? They kill him in the first 20 minutes of the film and instead make the Avengers fight a version of Thanos from the past. There's no time to establish any emotional connection with him, he's generically evil, and then he dies. Oh
Oh, for God's sake!
That's a similar feeling to what I have towards Mordo in this film. Captain Carter was the spoiler that I got before going into seeing this film. That, admittedly, I was a little bit suspicious considering I saw an Instagram post of the actress Hayley Atwell attending the film premiere on day one, but still, I would have loved for that surprise reveal to be kept a secret for me, because I really enjoyed Captain Carter's focused episode in the other Marvel series that was released not too long ago, Marvel's What If? I did wonder if this would be the same Captain Carter from that episode, but given what's about to happen to her as well as the rest of the Illuminati, that question probably doesn't matter much. Mr. Fantastic being there, I can't really say that much about, considering I've always been very half-assed about the Fantastic Four as a concept of superheroes. I watched the first film a couple times as a kid, but even then I didn't really think much of it and just kind of sort of left it in the past and forgot about it. And I didn't even bother with its sequel, Rise of the Silver Surfer, nor did I bother with the 2015 reboot, though from what I've heard and what I've seen about it, it's probably for the best. It's cool to see him there, but for me he's just kinda there, like he's just there. Captain Marvel, I actually recognise the actress, Lashana Lynch. She was the 007 replacement spy, Nomi, from No Time to Die. She's their universe's version of Maria Rambeau, who in our home universe was Captain Marvel's best friend. So it's kind of like a cool twist of superhero fate for those two people, and yeah, she's definitely there. Patrick Stewart reprising his role as Professor X was really cool. I also caught the little music motif of the X-Men animated series theme song being played as he came into shot. I never did watch the X-Men animated series, it was before my time, but I was aware of the theme song, so I was aware of that little addition, that little Easter egg. I'm sure that got a big cheer out of people watching that. Black Bolt was the only one I knew nothing about going in. I had no idea of his origins or his representation in the Marvel fandom. I thought his powers and how it limited his communication was pretty cool, for as little time as we actually got to see those powers in the first place. I feel like I should explain why I don't really have that much to say about the Illuminati in this film. So the Triangle with an I in its organisation explained that their universe's Doctor Strange became incredibly reckless when he gained grasp of the Darkhold and used that to defeat Thanos, which in turn created a universe-damaging incursion. So they're essentially keeping Doctor Strange captive, thinking he's going to be as dangerous as the last one, even refusing to listen to Doctor Strange's warnings about Wanda chasing him down and her immense powers, having also got her hands on the Darkhold, with them claiming, they're fine, we can take her on. And right on cue, dream-walking Wanda walks right into the hallway and wrecks the absolute shit of the Illuminati. I've no idea what the general consensus is towards the fandom's thoughts on the Illuminati being quickly introduced and just as quickly being killed off. I was admittedly disappointed. Glad that they didn't follow the trend of just having superhero cameos be set up for 5 future films instead of focusing on their own one film. You know, everybody's made the joke, everybody knows that Marvel is famous for doing it, and I'm glad that they didn't do it here. I really am glad that they didn't do it here, because otherwise it would have felt very forced. But still, if you're going to establish this organisation that is basically that universe's Earth's defence force, establishing them with some kind of grand power, if you're going to kill them off, don't have them be fucking massacred by Wanda just to show off how powerful she is, because we already got that towards the start of this film when she laid waste to all the sorcerers in Kamar-Taj. As a not to mention, she literally has the power to walk in other universe versions of herself. And depending on whether or not you saw her in the last films, as well as her miniseries, she can do all of this crazy shit. We get it, her powers are supposed to be immense and scary, but if you're going to introduce these heroes of such power, only to become fodder for showing off how powerful Wanda is, which we already know, that's kinda lazy. Mr. Fantastic, my god, not only does he give away Black Bolt's powers before he can even use them, giving Wanda exactly the information that she needs to know in order to instantly kill him, but upon seeing Black Bolt instantly die, his instinct is to stretch out his arm and punch her in the face? Like, mate, this is clearly something that you are unprepared for, and you need to work together with the remaining members of the Illuminati to create a strategy for. So stretch up your arms and Spider-Man swing your big brain out of there so that you can plan something with Captain Carter and Captain Marvel to get a strategy to try and beat her. Or better yet, Doctor Strange is right there, who was happily warning you about Wanda's oncoming power, so maybe you can plan an attack with him. Don't put yourself in a position where you could get instantly killed by Wanda. Oh wait, he does. He gets blown up by her. The smartest man on the planet, my arse. But aside from how quickly they were killed off, at least it was done in a cool looking and also honestly kind of like disturbing way. She completely removes Black Bolt's mouth, making him unable to shout, his superpower, and the second he tries to make any sort of noise, the noise stuck in his mouth causes his head to implode. Like that's a really gruesome way to go, and honestly, like, really cool to see. And when she tries to kill Mr. Not So Big Brain of the planet, she turns him to silly string and then blows him up. Also a pretty cool death to see. And the fight that ensues with Wanda fighting Captain Carter and Captain Marvel is short but well choreographed and equally just as brutal with how she kills them, like using Captain Carter's shield to slice her in half and then causes a building to collapse and drags it down onto Captain Marvel, crushing her in the process. Like, that's cool to see as well. All of this accentuated by the direction style, which I probably should spend some time talking on right now. So, this film was directed by Sam Raimi, the same guy who directed the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man trilogy, and for those of you that are unaware of Sam Raimi, as well as sort of unaware of those Spider-Man films in particular, he has a certain direction style, and if you're unaware of that, allow me to show you a short montage of some of the many things you can expect to see in a Sam Raimi film.
Hello, my dear.
It's Spider-Man!
I surrender!
Oh boy.
Oh.
His style is absolutely all over this film, and I love it. It brings what I believe to be a unique style into a franchise like the MCU, which can oftentimes feel a little bit styleless, especially, as I said before, with how many different Marvel projects come out year after year after year. Not all the time. The director of Thor Ragnarok, Taika Waititi, being allowed to bring his comedic style to that film was one of the main reasons why it's my favourite Marvel film of all time, and is also the main reason why I'm really looking forward to Thor Love and Thunder later on this year. But yeah, in general, a lot of MCU projects can kind of blend together with their direction style, because it's mainly not really about the style, but more so portraying these characters accurately, as well as delivering a decent action scene here and there. This film excels with having Sam Raimi as the director. Striking is definitely the word that I'd use, and while it does oftentimes lead to a few awkward shots and a little bit of hokey acting across the board, it's still very much enjoyable to see on screen, especially with a lot of the horror vibes that this film also brings. The horror elements to this film are mainly around Wanda, now completely under the control of the Darkhold, being a relentless, terrifying psychopath with how she's chasing down Strange in America. And the way that she kills Charles Xavier, also very cool. He basically enters her mind in an attempt to try and sort of stabilize her, and finds the real Wanda trapped underneath a pile of rubble. I think that's a very unique way of saying she's basically become stuck under the control of this sort of immense power, and in an attempt to try and save her from the rubble, they're confronted by the mist, the red mist representing the Scarlet Witch. And in an instant, Wanda is essentially dragged further under the rubble, disappearing into the darkness. And then the next thing you see is Scarlet Witch Wanda appearing behind Charles Xavier, snapping his neck, which in turn snaps his neck in real life without Wanda actually physically touching him. But that was so cool, so terrifying to see, and expertly directed. I loved that bit. If the Illuminati had to be killed faster than the brain cells of contestants who go on Love Island, then I'm at least glad that their deaths were visually cool. Back onto our pro tags, Strange, America and Christine try to outrun Wanda throughout the tunnels of the lab in what is another incredibly horrifying chase sequence, with how Wanda basically jumps in and out of the screen, sort of appearing in and out of nowhere, just as this sort of, again, a relentless, psychotic witch constantly on the hunt for these people. They eventually reach the doorway to what is the Rainbow Road dimension from Doctor Strange's dream in the beginning of the film. A doorway to a point in reality, a collapsed point in reality that was sort of hidden away from their universe's Earth as a secret, I think. To which they find the Book of Vishanti, the book which is essentially the bane of the Darkhold. It has spells in there capable of taking down the Darkhold. Only for Wanda to immediately appear behind them and to destroy the Book of Vishanti instantly. I hereby redub this book as the useless MacGuffin of Vishanti. Anyway, Wanda takes over America's mind and uses her powers to create a portal to send Doctor Strange and Christine far away to a different, obscure multiverse, and then uses it again to send America back to the home universe, right on the doorstep of Mount Wundagore, where she is in prime position, ready to have her powers taken away by the home universe's Wanda, who uses that time to stop dreamwalking so that she can focus on taking America's powers. Meanwhile, Strange and Christine are stuck in a universe where reality seems to be slowly tearing itself apart with no sense of life anywhere. They both head to the New York Sanctum in search of that universe's Doctor Strange, only to find that their Doctor Strange is evil and is the being responsible for the universe slowly tearing itself into pieces. With the knowledge that evil Doctor Strange was going to be in this film to begin with, having myself seen the trailers and all that, like Captain Carter, I wondered if this was the same evil Doctor Strange from Marvel's What If series. Would it follow like the same sort of story arc? But no, this version of Doctor Strange was essentially also overtaken by the power of the Darkhold. Jesus, like, this book doesn't do anybody any favours whenever they touch it, does it? I forget what it is specifically that he did to fuck up the universe. I think it had something to do with a continuing motif throughout this film with Strange asking himself if he's happy, but we don't have a lot of time to ask about that because it's time for the two strangers to fight. I love their musical notes battle, like literally taking sheet music off the floor and turning the music notes into like magic attacks with constantly blaring symphonies just sort of being thrown at each other. That was a visually spectacular thing to see. It was amazing to see. That was definitely a highlight fight for me, purely on spectacle. It was crazy, it was creative, I just loved it, I really did. Our Doctor Strange emerges the victor by throwing Evil Strange out of the window, impaling him on a fence in the process, but there's still the matter of needing to rescue America. So taking a huge gamble, Doctor Strange takes the Darkhold himself and uses it to dreamwalk in the corpse of the Doctor Strange that accompanied America at the start of the film, all the while Christine is holding onto his hand to keep him calm as he fights off the souls of the damned, who are essentially trying to attack Strange for dreamwalking in a dead body. But Strange then takes control of the souls of the damned and uses his newfound power to save America from having her powers being taken away, and then fights Wanda with the combined help of Wong. Oh yeah, Wong kind of disappeared for a little bit. Essentially, when they first got to the temple, he was thrown off the side of the cliff and remained unconscious until the finale of the film, where he was able to climb back up and rejoin the fight against Wanda. It's very cheesy what happens next, but essentially Strange tells America that all she needs to do to be able to control her powers is to believe in herself. Yeah, as I would have liked it if maybe there was a more sort of gradual build up to her having that confidence in herself, rather than it just be sort of in the moment for the convenience. But what it leads to, man does it hit hard. America basically creates a portal to the universe where Wanda tried to take over that universe's Wanda to be with her sons, right in the viewing point of Tommy and Billy. And the second they see Scarlet Witch Wanda, they immediately hide behind the furniture, calling out for their real mom. And holy fuck, this scene is so gut-wrenching. Like, seeing the two boys throwing like bits of debris and like toys at her, telling her to stay away, the Scarlet Witch Wanda snapping at them, telling them to stop, making them like freeze in absolute fear, which in turn makes her freeze in shock, realizing the monster that she has become in this. Her breaking down in the middle of the front room, only for that universe's Wanda to return to the house and basically reconcile and to sort of comfort herself, sort of holding her tear-stricken face, basically saying that their two boys are loved. And all the emotions that were brought out in this, it didn't get me to cry, but it was definitely it tugs on the heartstrings for sure. As Wanda walks back through the portal, America closes the portal, and she, Doctor Strange, and Wong both escape the temple when Wanda uses what power she has to bring down the temple in order to destroy all traces of the Darkhold across the multiverses, sacrificing herself in the process. With America then returning Strange and Christine to their own universes respectively, now that Strange is no longer taking possession of the zombie. We end after a bit of time passes and Kamar-Taj is being rebuilt, with America spending her time as a sorceress in training at Kamar-Taj. But just as Doctor Strange goes for a walk in New York, he collapses to the floor in agony as a third eye appears on his head as a result of dream walking in a corpse, and that's where the film ends. I've nothing much to say about the mid-credits scene because I literally know nothing about what happened, what I saw. Doctor Strange, who was literally on the floor in agony because of his third eye appearing, is literally just walking about the streets again without his third eye being there, as if nothing had happened. And then this random sorceress just appears, who I think she has a name, but I couldn't find it for the life of me, so I'm just going to refer to her by her actress name. Was it Charlize Theron? And basically warns Doctor Strange that his actions have created some sort of incursion in some other universe. It ends with Doctor Strange now completely unfazed by the reappearance of his third eye, following Charlize into a portal as the rest of the credits roll. Do you guys remember Mordo? Where the fuck did he go? So, this film was brilliant. It has its issues. The Illuminati's sudden appearance and then just as sudden death was incredibly underwhelming. The MacGuffin of Vishanti amounting to nothing was a letdown. The lack of multiverses visited was disappointing. The CGI can look a bit crappy in places, and the occasional plot conveniences with the story were inevitably distracting. But considering everything else it manages to do with creative and chaotic magic battles, the horrifying but so emotionally complex villainization of Wanda and her whole arc throughout this story, the horror vibes not only amplified by Sam Raimi bringing his A-game in directing, but also Danny Elfman doing the score, superb, and overall just being a stunning film to look at. I know it may not seem like much considering all the critiques that I just gave, but trust me, it really is. It's a top tier Marvel film for me, but nothing too high, as a lot of the flaws do bring it down. If you haven't seen this film and for some reason have watched this video all the way through, having heard all of these spoilers, I highly recommend you go and watch the film anyway, because my words can't really do those awesome bits justice. So yeah, go watch this film anyway, because you're guaranteed a good time if you do. Okay, so this was my sort of first attempt at this sort of brief review style. I tried something a little bit similar with the Book of Boba Fett not too long ago, and I realised I couldn't really do that without any sort of script, with how much I fucking stuttered and mumbled throughout that. So, what do you guys think? Do you guys like this format? Do you want me to do this more often with not just Marvel films, but with other cinematic releases? I definitely have a couple films that I want to see this year, not just Marvel films. I know I mentioned Love and Thunder before, but I do have my fair share of films that I am looking forward to seeing in the cinemas, and I want to see if you guys like this sort of attempt at brief reviews. I mean, I say brief, and I'm pretty sure I listed all the spoilers, well, a lot of the plot important spoilers in Multiverse of Madness. But yeah, let me guys know what you think about this if you want to see more of this. Have a good morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time you're watching this, and I'll see you in a bit.